So all three of you kind of touched on, some very challenging like moments in your academic and music careers, where you kind of had to question your motives and what you were doing. And I think mental burnout is something that people, especially at an institution like Cornell, where it's a very stressful place for a lot of people. So I think it's something that a lot of people deal with. Do you have any advice when people find themselves in those moments? And I know you kind of mentioned
also physical burnout.
And physical burnout too. Yeah, for sure. Like when you're not sleeping, when you're putting down the sleeping bear. And I know you touched on some of that just in that past question, but do you have any advice for people when they're going through those moments?
You need to sleep to live. If you don't sleep,
What?
if you don't sleep, it'll damn near kill you. So we've all had those times where you leave. I'm in a laboratory and I work with live subjects. So if it says 12 hours, you mean you got to be there every 12 hours. It says 6 hours, you'll be there every 6 hours. And there's been times where I've started something, played a 9 o'clock show that went from 9 to 10:30, left 10:30, started 11 o'clock show, got done, around 2, cleaned up, got got all my equipment back in. 3 o'clock, I'm back in the lab until, till the next day, That's kind of how the beast goes. But you gotta sleep. And once you get, when it's something that you love, you don't want to put it down, right? So if you're working on a beat, you're producing something, or you're trying to get this mix together, hours and hours just pass by. Before you know it, at 3 o'clock, it's 4 o'clock. Well, if you still have work to do, you still got to get it done. And then if your next day looks exactly like that, then you'll go and you'll go and you'll go until you physically can't go anymore. And when you start running in place, you'll know it. Or, as he mentioned, the people around you will see it. And that's who you don't want to tell you, hey, you need to get some sleep. Because they got your best interests at heart. And the people listening in your closest circle, or people that really might not know you at all, they know when you're running down. So my best advice is get some sleep. It will change your life. Because DJ third degree this is my third degree. I've been in school for a while, and I can tell you the wrong way to do a lot of stuff. And my biggest thing was you can't outwork me. If we're on calculus and it takes you an hour to do that, it takes me 6 hours. I don't care. I won't stop until I'm done. That's just my attitude on everything. So whatever I do, I try to do, 100%. And that's how I approach the music. Like, okay, there's better DJs out there than me, then I need to step my game up. Let me learn this, let me learn that. And then it got to a point where, again, if I had to sacrifice anything, I would sacrifice sleep. Because I like to party. So, hey man, we got this going on. I'm there, let's go. And then I'll do my work, then I get the DJ stuff going. Then somebody else will call me like, yo man, we're going to the bar, let's go. Then I'll do my work, then I'll do the DJ stuff. And like I said, I sacrifice sleep, on a very consistent basis. And it wasn't literally until I was almost hospitalized. Seriously, before it's like, listen, if you don't take care of yourself, then you're not going to be able to do any of the stuff you love. So get some sleep.
Yeah, similar, just to play off of that, you also got to find time to relax. I relax pretty hard. Like, I play sports when I can. I go to the gym. I walk around. I watch a lot of the movies. But you kind of sometimes have to find an alternative time. I sometimes go to the movies like in the day by myself. It's not always the same as normal, but it's like the more you relax, the more efficient at least you'll probably find yourself. I know I find the more I'm relaxed, the more, if I spend 3 hours playing sports like basketball or something, like I'll get a lot more work done than if I spent like 5 hours just sitting at a computer trying to work and being like, wish I was doing something else. Like, if you're sitting at a computer or you're sitting at a book and you're just staring at it, don't think you're gonna stare at it long enough. You're gonna like give up right then, go do something else, and like come. I know people that sit at the computer for like 5 hours and they'll get nothing done. And it's like you can tell though immediately. Like I'm in one of those moods where I'm modes where I'm just not going to get anything done, like get up and do something else, and then come reset. And then similarly, I kind of set up like a triage almost of work. So like you all know there's some kind of work that's just you can do when you're like exhausted, and some kind of work you just need your mental focus. Where I know people like in my program, they'll do like grading, which sorry to break it to you, that's something you can not focus on as hard. Because you're just reading people's papers, like people do that like during their prime work time, and then at night at like 3 in the morning when they're done grading, they're just like, oh, I didn't do any of my, like, oh, I gotta write this thing, and it's like, no, write the thing in the day, grade while you're watching football or something later, and figuring out how to do those things, same, especially with a record label. A lot of the stuff you do running a label is like really boring, really manual. It's like you're just like uploading stuff to YouTube, you're cutting out download cards or emailing people back, you know, ask you questions. I do that like really, really late at night before I go to bed, because it's like I don't need any of my energy to do that. I need all my energy to do like school stuff or teaching. So figuring out like, and that takes practice to know when you're best at doing things. So you're probably figuring all that out right now if you're undergrads, but make a note of that, and then you can prioritize. And it's like when I am playing basketball or watching a movie, because I know there's nothing else that like useful I could be doing. So rather than pretend I'm working and sit in the library for 2 hours and make myself even more stressed out, go leave the library for 2 hours and come back later or something. So.
This was actually very helpful for me because I'm still trying to figure out how to manage all of these things. Usually I'm kind of a hot mess, just holding everything together. That's all the bears and walruses together as best as I can. I would echo what Chavez said about the importance of sleep. Last year I was in a car accident on my way back from New York City. Because coming back from a show, I had done it a million times where I go like get out of class, jump in the car, drive to New York City, do the show, come back, get here by 4 a.m., sleep, wake up, do whatever I need to do the next day. And that particular time, I hadn't slept prior to that, so I was really going on nothing. And I don't drink coffee because it just gives me the shakes. It just makes me I just can't handle it. My body can't handle it. So I was like, I'm just gonna push through. And then next thing I knew, I was waking up and my car was like crashed into the divider or whatever. It was totally crunched up the front, and like I was okay, but it was such a wake-up call for me that like I can't continue to do this. I have to be smarter about this, and now actually I may have to say no to some gigs, even if it seems really dope. Like me getting killed is not dope, so I need to think a little bit more, be more strategic about what I'm doing and how I'm balancing that. So I think really allowing your body to dictate what you do is really important, especially as you get a little bit older. I think in undergrad, all-nighters were like, you know, it was whatever, that rolled right off my back. But now I can't really do that. My body just shuts down. So definitely that. And then like Joe said, being very strategic. You know, I watch a lot of YouTube, I watch a lot of Netflix. And that's when I know that nothing is going to be happening in terms of my, like, you know, writing, anything. So just knowing yourself, knowing when you do things efficiently, or knowing when you do things well, and then blocking off time accordingly.
Yeah, don't waste your, I mean, you should waste your time. I think people say, like, don't waste your undergrad time. Like, that's good time to do more than just, like, sit in the library studying. I have these students that are, like, in my opinion, they're wasting their time because they're studying for these classes that they're, and I'm not saying don't study, but they're like I'm saying they're doing too much of that and not enough of the other stuff. And there's a lot of stuff you get out of, especially college, like Cornell, but even like any college, like, there's so much to get out of that time of your life and that school. And so unless what you're driven for is like, I only want to learn like engineering, okay, then you should go only do engineering. But if you want to do other things, don't let things hold you back by like making yourself think you have to do this. Like, there's a lot of paths to success. So
getting old sucks. I'm just being honest with you. There were certain things I could do at 19, like to stay up. Like I used to brag to my friends, like, man, I can stay up for days. I mean, like, and I could stay up for days and get a night's sleep, and I'm good to go. You know, we do it. You know, we can stay up a couple more days. Once you get a little older, that becomes more of a struggle. It's just life. So don't let that beat you up like it beat me up. Also, what was the second point? Nah, it must not have been that part. That getting old.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? So learn your prime time. And when I say that is my prime time is around about 4:30 a.m. I'll get up at 4 because I can't do anything sleepy. When I wake up, I'm up. I'm alert. After a good 15 minutes and some cereal, I'm as alert as I will be for the rest of the day. But so I study at around about 4:30 until because I always had 8 o'clock classes, so I can get the studying done early. I get 4 hours in, of studying before I start my day, and that way I can do all the social stuff. I can do all the fun stuff. I can do whatever I want to because I know after 10 o'clock I'm no good. After 10 p.m. I very rarely do anything seriously academic.
So, I mean, you probably read a lot of this online, but a lot of what you'll read is true. You want to be posting, you want to post often, and you want to try to speak with your subscribers, and you want to kind of build with other social media. So, like, if you want to build a Facebook presence and then promote your YouTube on Facebook, even though Facebook tries to tell you not to, and you want to tweet about it, and you want to basically. What I would say is you don't want to rely too heavily on any one social network because you can I know people that invested a lot of money into building like a MySpace kind of brand and they had like so much going on MySpace and MySpace was over and they wasted a lot of money and time and they had to start from scratch. So you want to kind of build a brand outside of social media if you can and let social media like populate. Because again, if you spend all this time building a Facebook page and then Facebook's not what people do, then you're starting from scratch. But if you build it outside of their walls, like whatever social media comes up will be yours. So a lot of it's like not being focused too much on YouTube. It's an important part, but if you want to build it outside of YouTube, like email lists are huge, like in-person things you hand out. They can link, say, find me everywhere. But you want to build your own like brand if that's what you're trying to do, and let people find that on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter.
I'll kind of add to that very quickly, just in terms of knowing what. Using each form of social media, I think, in a way that works best for you. So to me, Facebook is like, or thinking about what annoys me about Facebook is people who like post a lot, way too much. I hate that. So I've made a point that I will post once a day at a like maximum. And that's worked for that platform, I think, because there's so much stuff that gets, and I apologize profusely if I ever post more than that. But then Twitter, I'm constantly tweeting, whatever I'm thinking about. And I engage with people in that way. YouTube, I'm not as great about. I'll do maybe one video a month. But I think, like he said, spreading yourself across a variety of mediums and recognizing the strengths and weaknesses of the different platforms is useful. But most important, remembering that ultimately it's what's behind the social media that's important, like getting out there, like meeting with people, because the only people who are engaging with me are people who know that I'm a real person behind that, or not the only people, but I would say that the people who are really, really engaged or like leave comments, it's because they saw me perform somewhere or we shook hands or something like that. So I would say really focus on like getting out there and then building the rest of the brand around that.
Yeah, I think people look too much at social media as a means when really social media is closer to an end. It's like you want to get big and then some people don't even use social media and then if they make a profile like that day they'll have like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands on their scale of followers like in a couple of days because they already have something. Other people spend all this time using all these weird techniques to try to game the system and get extra followers and they don't actually have anything going on. Like they think it's a means to success but it's really an end. And you really don't need it unless you have something going on outside of it. And then, I mean, again, for comedy, it's a great way to like check out this video, but I wouldn't harp too much if your videos don't have a lot of views, or I wouldn't harp if they have millions of views if no one knows who you are. You want people to know like who you are and be good at that, and then worry about the social media will take care of itself.
So, obviously, you're all very busy, and you have a strong academic life, personal life. How do you constantly renew your passion for your art? When life does get tough, when you do get no sleep and you're kind of like at the bottom, like how do you remind yourself that this is why you want to do this?
What renews me is the actual participation in the art. So I DJ. So when I'm DJing for that, if it's 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever, there's nothing else that exists but that. So that's my refresher, the prep. I listen to music constantly, you know, I mean, you know, in the car while I'm walking. It's not very often I'm not listening to music, you know, all types of music. I try to be very diverse, and because I'm a DJ, if I play a spot that, you know, they want Bhangra, I want to know not just 2 or 3 Bhangra tracks. I want to go for it. You know what I mean? So, you know, so the prep part is, you know, some of it's cool, some of it's really grueling. You know what I mean? But the actual, you know, being in that moment and being in the presence of the artistry is what refreshes me.
Because it's not work.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing there. I think every time I'm like getting, not bored, but getting kind of bogged down by all the routine of running the label, or, oh, I've got to, this band, like you'll just see some band, or you'll hear some song that just immediately reminds you of like why you're doing it. And it's same with school. There will be these times when I'm like, oh, I really, really hate school, and then I'll get like a paper accepted to a conference, and I'll be like, like, oh, I love school. It'll just like these, and then you'll be like, wow, how did I forget how much I like doing this? You're just getting a little encouragement, which is pathetic, but the older you get in school, the less you need that little. But sometimes it's like a small amount of encouragement. You're like, oh yes, I love doing this, and so that's with school. With the music, it's more about like you'll just see some piece of music that just really, or a band that really inspires you that you weren't expecting, and you remember like what it was like being like 14 again or something when you heard music the first time or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of those things, and not to blow up her spot, but like one of my favorite artists is like sitting here, so I'm like totally kind of blushing a lot. But like seeing artists, especially in the Ithaca community, there's so much going on here. There are so many talented groups and artists in this small area. It's actually unbelievable to me. Like going to certain, like Ithaca Underground puts on a lot of great shows. There's great shows here on campus, and I'm just witnessing like this amazing, awe-inspiring talent. And every time I'm a very emotional person, so it's easy for me to start crying about stuff. And every time I see certain groups or artists, it's like the feelings are just right there, and I remember why music is so important. But I keep like emails and messages that people have sent me that have said like, hey, you really inspired me, or like seeing a black woman at this particular venue talking about the thing that you were talking about, like actually changed my life. And I have received so many of those messages, or people who were like, I have a daughter, and like we listen to your stuff, which there's a lot of cursing, so I'm always like, but that's awesome. Or like we listen to your stuff, or the fact that you want to talk about cartoons and you want to, you know, all those things that I'm trying to do, keeping those messages and like reading over them sometimes honestly is enough for me to be like, I hate everything right now. I'm really tired, or I'm really annoyed about something that's happened, but like someone's life may actually have been changed. So I think that's enough. Seeing dope artists here in Ithaca, and then keeping little mementos from moments in time when people said nice things.
I kind of want to offer like the reverse question. So you guys, although it's relative, have like success in both fields. Now, you're undoubtedly like passionate about music. What gets you to snap back to academia?
Deadlines.
Deadlines do a great job of that. No, I mean everyone, like, I guess here's the thing about academia versus music, I think, especially for, I don't know, I'm talking to the mic, especially for people that are sort of starting on the path in academia, like where we obviously, I don't know how long you've had your PhD actually, but with the label I've been doing it for 13 years, or some of you have been doing music, it sounds like for your whole life in some capacity. And then I'm kind of like in the middle, maybe even at the top, I guess you never know where it's going, but I'm higher up in music. And then in academia, it's like I'm at like the very, very bottom, and sometimes you just have to remind yourself of that. So it's not always like fun at the bottom. You have to kind of like look ahead a little bit.
In academics, kind of like with your music and other passions, if you're passionate about both, you don't really turn it all the way off. You know. Yeah. So I'm listening to music lyrics, and you'd be surprised what that makes me think of in science. You know, it makes you know what type of formula that comes up, what type of you know what I mean. That's the way. Music is how I learn and memorize stuff, because I don't say I can't memorize, I don't memorize well. But what I do know a lot of is rap lyrics, you know, or I know a lot of melodies, I know a lot of tunes, and that's how I learn, you know, a lot of my science. So just like, you know, a mix will come up in my head, doesn't mean that that's independent of me thinking about science. You know, that's independent of me strategizing about, you know, our next experiment. So, you know, things you're really passionate about, you know, things that kind of consume you, that's what they do. They consume you. So, you know, it's hard to, that's why you need those outlets to say, you know what, I'm gonna go watch a movie. You know, I'm gonna go and do something brainless, you know, for an hour of my life, because sometimes you need that separation so you don't kind of tire yourself out.
And I would just throw in like friends, like other grad students will kind of take you back into the world of grad school, but for me, grad school. And that can be good, you know, remembering like, oh, I should probably, you know, do these things or whatever, and not just totally be off on my music world. And then in addition, advisors really do kind of keep you, like your committee will kind of keep you in check. I'm really blessed to have an advisor who's also a musician. I don't know some of you know Trevor Pinch, but he performs in a band called Electric Golem. And so it's cool because we can be like, hey, I have a gig this weekend. And he's like, I do too, awesome. Let's also talk about your work. So, so it's, I think, in terms of grad school specifically, it's really good to find a committee or put together an advisor who is kind of open to, has a working style that's similar to yours. So I would say my advisors kept me in check a lot, and other grad students.
So, and something that gets used quite a bit, or overused sometimes, is just time management. The more time you have, the more time you're knowledgeable about, the more time and more you can manipulate that time. So being very structured in, you know, okay, this is my Google Calendar, this is, you know, however you structure your day, and utilizing those tools really help, because, you know, those reminders, when, you know, like I said, sometimes you'll be in the lab or in the studio or whatever, and that reminder comes up that says, hey, I got this, blah, blah, this deadline, this due. It's like, okay, let's wrap this up. I got some life stuff to do as well, so.
Yeah, I think we're out of time, but let's give a huge round of applause.
For those of you that don't know, Charlie is part of a group called Storymakers Drive, and like they're doing big things. They're really awesome. They perform here on campus and also in the Ithaca community. They've been on a tour, which like I went on my first tour this year, and I've grown. And like he is an undergrad. I can't imagine being an undergrad and like touring. That's so awesome. So totally in the presence of a lot of talent, not just the grad students, but also Charlie. So thank you. And thanks to Fan Club for helping us put this together. And the last thing I would say is if you want to live at Jam, you should. This is all an elaborate ploy to get you to live at Jam. So if you're interested in learning about what it's like to live here, we put together all kinds of cool events, music shows, and panel discussions, music education opportunities, dance parties, music listening parties, all kinds of fun stuff. Sign up on our little listserv. We'll put you on our mailing list, and we only send out one newsletter message a week. And yeah, feel free to talk to us afterwards about music and or jam or school. Thank you. Bye.